Thanks so much for joining us on our Arise Church YouTube channel. We exist so that you can experience God, and we hope you do experience His presence and His power through this message. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to us on Instagram at My Arise Church and find us on YouTube at the same handle, My Arise Church.
Hey, what's up, Risers? How you guys doing? Good to see you guys this morning. If you're new to our church, my name is Brent. I get the privilege of being your lead pastor, and we're going to continue to experience God together today over the next few moments. Hey, we always want to celebrate as we get started. Last week in-house, you heard a little bit about out of the house through the network and such, but last week in-house, we had 75 people make decisions for Christ in our church. Isn't that awesome? All of our Easter services throughout the weekend were beautiful. God was moving in a profound way. For all of you who were volunteering and serving, and for some of you who jumped into another service to make some room, I appreciate you all so much. This year, we once again broke our attendance record as we normally do, but we did break it by more than usual. We broke it by 900 people. There were 900 more people this Easter than last Easter. Yeah. That's a 34% increase, and there was about basically 3,500 people here last weekend in all of our services. And so thank you for everybody who served or took another seat somewhere else to make room. I appreciate it. There's always somebody that's like, why do you count people? Well, we count people because people count. If you think God doesn't care about numbers, you can argue with him because he has an entire book of the Bible called Numbers, okay? Oh, man. So God's doing some awesome things in our church, and you should know this, like behind the scenes, some of your pastors, some of your leaders, like they are involved in some shenanigans. Our church is a fun place to work at because it's a little crazy and things happen during the week. And if you've worked for us ever before, if you've interned with us, you've probably seen a little bit of this kind of stuff that goes on. For instance, everybody loves Pastor Ada because she's so spiritual and she prays for everybody and all of that. But what you don't know is that she's a thief. There have been many times that we go to restaurants together with all the pastors and some female pastor walks out with forks in her purse or packets of sugar or whatever, because Ada is slipping them into their purse as one at a time, and they get home and they find out they stole forks from Olive Garden or wherever. And if you're a waiter and you're like, where does all of our silverware go? It's Pastor Ada. She tends to mess with people. We've had a lot of shenanigans like that. We've got a book for a while that passed around through all the offices. It was quite funny. We had the most hideous looking doll that just looked freaky that kind of got moved around. Years ago, back in the old days, at the old church in my office, to go to the bathroom, you had to pass the little modular building that a couple of our pastors, that was their office, was like a real small little modular building. And the walls were absolutely paper thin. I'm surprised it ever survived hurricanes and stuff. Just paper thin, really old. And so our pastors, back then it was Pastor Brad and Pastor Kyle Judah, Brad Murray and Kyle Judah, would be in there. And I couldn't help it when I was going to the restroom, because I passed it all the time. I couldn't help it every once in a while that just to walk over, they're like intensely studying, intensely working, and I would bang on the side of that, like, bah, 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 and I would yell to the top of my lungs at the same time, ah! As I banged on it, and I would, like, they had to go to the bathroom afterwards. We'll say it that way. So we have a lot of shenanigans that go on. A few back in the old church, I just happened to stumble across a couple old photos. But this is once when they ransacked my office. Not cool, by the way. That was my old office over there. But what was cool is that sometime later, they actually did a Post-it job on my desk. Like, that took time and effort, y'all. That took time and effort. Like, that was really, I was like, that's impressive. And if you're wondering, the word gunky comes from an old stand-up line that they used to call each other from time to time. So one of the things that's pretty consistent in our office that may or may not come from me is that if a pastor leaves their wallet out, that becomes fair game. And we've seen a lot of stuff happen with wallets, especially over the years, because if you hire a bunch of young men, like the ladies don't do this so much, and the men that grow up don't do this so much, but when you hire young men, they tend to leave their wallet sitting around for whatever reason. And so many times we have kind of taken their stuff a little bit. And Pastor Johnny Turpin, when he first got hired by us a year or so ago, well, he's been here longer than that, but a year or so ago, he left his wallet out, to which I discovered. So what I have done repeatedly with anybody who leaves their wallet out is then it becomes a scavenger hunt that they have to figure out the rest of the day in order to find all the stuff in their wallet. So I literally take everything out of the wallet, and you know, every credit card, every dollar, every whatever, and I hide it in different places with each place having another note to know where to find the next thing in the next place. And y'all wonder, like, what do you do in ministry? Okay, this is what we do. This is what we do. And so it makes a fun environment. And so Pastor Johnny spent a while trying to figure out clues to find all the stuff that belonged inside of his wallet, okay? Now that's kind of what we're talking about today as we carry on in the Finding Joy series, because let's be honest, sometimes joy feels like she's gone missing, like somebody has stolen your joy, like she packed her bags during the pandemic and just never returned. You know what I'm talking about?
Wait. Someone said my name. Hi guys, how are you? Okay guys, so the thing is, I have been hiding the whole week. But wait, no, it's not because I'm mean or anything. No, I promise. I have been just waiting for the right moment, okay? And guess what? This is it, yay! Anyway, I heard someone said I was missing. No, I'm not missing. I have been hiding, and I have been hiding all over the place, like in places that you least expected, places you weren't looking actually. But guess what? I left clues, so yes, that's good. So what we can do now is stay tuned, slow down, listen up, and I promise you guys are gonna be able to find me, okay? So it's kind of a scavenger hunt. Are you guys ready to hunt me? Yes, okay, so let's go, yay!
All right, good job, Joy. We're going on a scavenger hunt today to find joy. Anybody married? How many of you are married? Okay. Let me tell you something about marriage. This is my story, but I bet you find yourself in that story, is that sometimes my wife likes to help me by putting something away or putting it in a place where it should be, but then I cannot find it. So maybe it's like I get my clothes ready for an event or whatever, and then I have them ready, and then Ada takes them and puts them in the car without my knowledge. She leaves, and then I'm looking around the house everywhere trying to find the clothes that I know exactly where I left them. I know, and I'm like blaming the kids, I'm blaming everybody. I'm like, where did they go? Only to find out she put them in another place, okay? That's the story of the way we find joy a lot of times. We think joy is supposed to be right here, but it's not. It's actually over here. And if it were right where we left it, if it was right where we expected it to be, it wouldn't be so hard to find. But it is hard to find because it's not where we've been taught all of our lives that it's supposed to be. In fact, we will never find joy when we are looking in the wrong places. There are literally an infinite amount of places that joy could be that she's not, so to speak. There's only one place or a few places that you are going to find joy. And the challenge is that many of us have had our joy stolen from us, like Pastor Johnny's wallet. And so we got to go on a scavenger hunt to find it. And oftentimes it's not as much of a joy hiding as it is that she's living in the background of our lives unnoticed because we're so distracted by the life stress and struggles, and we get in survival mode and all of this. So far too often we want to find joy, but we're not discovering joy because of the routines in our life. And the truth is that sometimes, and I'm telling on myself, and I'll explain why in a second, but sometimes my joy level is based on my caffeine level. Don't lie. Like there's some rules that sort of play out in our house, like we don't want to talk to anybody until we've had at least half a cup of coffee. Like no words in the house, no music, no singing. Occasionally there's other people in our house, not part of our family. We're like, shut up, okay? We will be friendly after at least half a cup of coffee. Before that, we are not friendly, right? It's like, you can also tell my anointing level based on how much coffee I've had sometimes, right? Now that shouldn't be the case, and it's sort of jokingly about it, but we start to ask, is joy even possible today? Is joy even realistic for us to find today? And if we start with that place, you gotta understand that joy has to be deeper than a cup of coffee. I mean, joy has to be deeper than something you can get out of a bottle or a pill, something you can get from an edible, something that comes from an outing or a date or a man or a TV show or going on vacation to a lake or a sporting event or a paycheck or a concert. Joy has to be something that's deeper than those things, because if it's not, if joy is just based on your caffeine level, you're gonna constantly go up and down and up and down, because real joy is deeper than your caffeine level, right? Now we know this, we inherently know this, and we were sort of taught this stuff all grown up, right? Like when we were kids, we all sang like if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Y'all did so good. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, and your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Right, so you know it because your face is gonna show happiness, right? But joy is a little deeper, right? In fact, I've been trying to get our worship team to sing this and fix it somehow into our worship set. So far, no luck. But we also used to sing, I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart. I've got the joy, joy, joy down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart to stay. Yeah, remember that? How many of you, when you were kids, your favorite part of that song was, if the devil doesn't like it, he can sit on attack. Ouch, right? Little 5-year-old Brent loved that song because, ouch, all the little kids jumped. It was fun, interactive. This is why we like church interactive like this. We still do the same things now. It's just more of an adult version. Yeah, close. So happiness tends to be fleeting and can go up and down. Joy needs to be stable and goes much deeper. Now, these are interesting because sometimes I've heard pastors say this, I've heard people say this, like, God doesn't care about your happiness. Yes, he does. Does that mean God wants you to be unhappy? Of course God wants you to be happy, but he's not gonna sacrifice your happiness based on sacrificing your joy. I should say he's not gonna sacrifice joy to make you happy, right? God's not just interested in giving you caffeine, he wants to give you something much, much deeper than that. The joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Not just from the cup of coffee, which costs way too much. Here's the thing, you know when you are in a happiness cycle, kind of like coffee, when you crash afterwards. So I got happy and I called it joy because I bought the new car, and then 2 months later it crashed because I got to pay for it. I got happy because I got the boyfriend, the girlfriend, and then shortly after it crashed. It's like caffeine. You crash after happiness because it's an adrenaline thing. It's not deep, it's not joy. But joy, real joy is deeper than that. A deep sense of joy resonates from within your spirit. It's not based on circumstance or surrounding. It's deeper than just mere feelings alone. Joy is actually a fruit of the Spirit. So Paul writes to this church in Galatia that he had founded. This church is having all kinds of issues. They're having a lot of bad theology going on. And so Paul wants to straighten it out, and he writes Galatians, the book of Galatians that we have now, somewhere around AD 50, could be a little earlier, could be a little later, but somewhere around that. And as he's straightening it out, he gets to Galatians chapter 5, where he's talking about how to live in the Spirit, how to be people that are like fully alive and live in the freedom that Christ has offered you. It's very much an Exodus thing, by the way. It's very much a people were in bondage and like to Pharaoh, and they've been brought out of bondage. Now you've been brought out of bondage. So how do you live? How do you experience this freedom? And he starts talking about that, and he's talking about it at a very deep level. Don't miss the fact that you could quote it from the time you were 5 to miss the depth of what he's saying. And he says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy. Joy, just pause there, joy. Joy is a fruit of the Spirit. It is not a fruit of caffeine. It is a fruit of the Spirit. Happiness might be a fruit of caffeine. Joy should be a fruit of the Spirit. And as you are spending time with the Spirit, we'll talk about this next week, joy should naturally come out of that. In fact, the psalmist David would say, in your presence, there is fullness of joy. When I get in God's presence, I can't help but be joyful. And not only am I a little joyful, I have fullness of joy because I'm in God's presence. You cannot have great joy the way God's designed you to have joy apart from the presence of God. Now you get these other things too, because you get peace and forbearance and kindness and goodness and faithfulness and gentleness and self-control. All these things are fruit of the Spirit, but don't miss the fact that it's rooted in the Spirit. Therefore, joy is not based on what happens to me, but what is happening in me. Okay? So it's not what happens to me. We all have good things and bad things happen to us. Life is going to have moments that are not fair, moments that are not pleasant, moments that are hard to walk through. You're gonna have some chaos in your life, but joy is not just based on what's happening to me, it's what's happening in me. All right, so how do we find joy? Where is joy at in this scavenger hunt? I'm gonna give you clues. That's why you have it written in your notes. the way you do. This is the way I would write it if I had stolen Pastor Johnny's wallet, okay? I'm giving you clues that you have to figure out where joy is. So this is your first clue. I'm hidden in the little things you've forgotten to count. I'm hidden in the little things you've forgotten to count. So where's joy? Anybody have any guesses? Blessings? Blessings? Anybody else? It's interactive. It's like children's church. Okay? All right, let me tell you what I discovered. Joy is found through gratitude.
Ooh, I love this part. You guys are getting so warm, okay? You guys are so close. Let me tell you a secret. I love hanging out with grateful people. Honestly, it's like my favorite neighbor to visit. I even have a sign and everything. It's amazing. Okay, anyway. So the thing is, do you know these people that walk around with these fancy Instagram filters? So gratitude is just like that, but for your soul. It helps you see the blessings that you have in front of you instead of focusing in maybe things that you think will make you happy. Because the thing is, a lot of people think that they have to look for the next steps in order to have joy, but then they start tripping over the things that they have in front of them. So what we can do, we can start counting the little things, like the hot coffee in the morning, the sunset, clean socks, and everything, and even the breath in your lungs, because it's beautiful, all the things that we have. The thing about gratitude, it just doesn't open your eyes, it opens your heart. And guess who lives there? Me! Yay!
All right, so 1 Thessalonians 5 would say, give thanks in the good circumstances of life. Give thanks when your kids are not misbehaving. Is that what it says? Give thanks when you got lots of money in your bank account. Give thanks when you have the best boss and the best job. Is that what it says? All right, help me out. What does it say? Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. Everybody's like, what is God's will for me? I'm going to give you a hint towards it. Give thanks. Become a person of gratitude. Give thanks. This is why Psalm 100 would say, enter his gates with thanksgiving. As you come to the Lord, you entered with the Lord with thanks. Gratitude is central to all we do. Gratitude is important if you're going to have joy in your life. But you can't have joy and gratitude as long as you're complaining about everything you don't have or we don't have. Joy does not come from what I get, but gratitude for what I already have. And this is so un-American. Because America has taught you from the time you were born, our materialistic culture is if I just have this, I'll have joy. If I just have this, I'll have joy. For $29.95, you can buy this thing and it'll bring you joy. And the truth is, it'll bring you happiness for a moment and then it's gone. You crash because it's not joy. And the reason why that runs and has its way in our life so much is because as humans, we love to compare ourselves to everybody else, and somebody else always has more than you have. And they all post their pictures about how amazing it is. They're on their boat that's bigger than your boat or a boat you don't even have, and they all look so happy, and their family's so amazing, and they just look like they got it all together. And if I had that, I would have joy, right? But comparison kills joy. As soon as you start comparing yourself to somebody else, comparison kills joy. I mean, haven't we all known people who seem like they have nothing, but they're so grateful for what they have and they're so full of joy? Yes. Isn't that so weird because we're Americans that think I need that one more thing. If I just had that thing, I'd have joy. If I just had this thing. And it just never, ever works. Now here's the thing. Gratitude is a discipline of the heart. Just like you have to discipline yourself for anything else, gratitude is a discipline that most of us are not born with. You don't come out of the womb and your first words are, thank you, mother, for having 9 months in your womb and how you cared for me, right? You don't do that at all. You say, mine, give me that. This is mine. We're selfish. We're all about me. So gratitude is not something that's natural until you are born again and you are in the Spirit, and the fruit of that Spirit makes you grateful, okay? So we have to be born selfish, reborn generous. Reborn thankful, reborn with a heart of gratitude. That's God's will for our lives. And the way that that rebirth happens is God sparks something in you. For many of you, it's going to be this morning. And then out of that spark, you create a discipline to become a more grateful person. What does that look like? Here's practically for me. A number of years ago, I started choosing to be grateful. Say, that sounds weird, right? No, you have to choose. You have to choose. And as part of something I was listening to and studying back then at the time, I actually found a spot. I think it's important to have like things that quicken it to your mind. And there's a spot on the interstate between I-4 and 60. When I get on the interstate, it reminds me every time that that's my spot to be grateful. And between 3 and 5 things, usually internally, I don't usually say it out of my mouth, but I will sit and think of things that I'm grateful for. Now, I don't want to do the obvious things. I don't go like, I'm thankful for Ada. I can say that every day. I'm thankful for my kids. I can say that every day. I try to go to the things that I tend to overlook. Of course I'm thankful for my wife. I wouldn't have my life if it wasn't for my wife, right? Of course I'm thankful for my wife, right? But there's a whole lot of other things that tend to fly under the radar that I ignore that I'm not thankful for. So I try to go to those things, the deeper things that I should be thankful for. And I do that every single day, and it helps me in my own mental health to have a life of joy from a discipline of gratitude. Who am I talking to in the room? Wherever it is for you, it could be a place in the house. It could be something you do when you lay to bed. It could be something you do when you wake up in the morning. But could you create a discipline in your life to say, I'm going to become a person of gratefulness and gratitude? Because here's the truth. You don't lose your joy. You just stop looking for it. You didn't lose your joy. You just stopped looking for the things to be grateful for that actually caused you joy. Come on. Because you remember you were joyful when you got that thing at first. And then you're not joyful because that thing doesn't cause you joy anymore, so you're focused on something else instead of going back to going, this should cause me joy. We don't need new circumstances. We need new sight. We need new perspective. Joy is not the absence of sadness. It's the presence of perspective. When we give our perspective the right way, we start to have joy in our lives. Now, this is not just like pastor talk, preacher talk. This is not just like, oh, well, the church has to say this kind of stuff because it's biblical. No, Bible, when it's truly understood, always lines up with science when it's truly understood because all truth is God's truth, okay? So we see these things. If it's true, you're going to see it everywhere else. Well, here's one of those things that has been studied a lot, especially with the epidemic of mental illness around America today. And they've been studying these things a lot. And in 2023, a study called Frontiers in Psychology found that people who spent 5 minutes a day writing down or being thankful had a measurable increase in almost every single positive factor in their life, okay? They had better moods, better motivation, enhanced cognitive function. Come on, somebody. Better decision making, improved memory, improved focus, improved concentration. They had reduced levels of stress, lower levels of high blood pressure, and improved sleep. And Dr. Robert Emmons said it this way: gratitude blocks toxic emotions like envy, resentment, and regret, and those emotions destroy happiness. This isn't just like preacher talk. This is like literally, if we can become grateful people the way the Bible would teach us, we will have joy, and everything gets better in life when you have joy. Amen. All right, all you guys who just graduated high school, raise your hand. You want to know how to have great grades in college? Get joy. Become grateful for what you have instead of recognizing what you don't all the time. And all of a sudden, your cognitive ability goes up because you're not living in depression, you're living in joy. I'm not even going to say, I was going to say, where are my old people at? But I'm just going to say, where are the people that struggle to remember things, right? The science says if we will have a discipline of gratitude, our memory will increase and get better. Have you ever noticed there's also a thing that happens, not always and not in our church because you guys are awesome, but sometimes old people get persnickety and get irritable and they're always upset about something and they're always like, this world's going to hell in a handbasket and all these teenagers are all, At the same time, their memory starts going. Okay, that's not preacher talk. That's the science behind it. Gratitude and thanksgiving is the operating system God created you to operate out of, right? And I know America's not going to teach you that because America's going to teach you, you need to buy this one more thing. but we're looking for joy in the wrong place, and we're never gonna find it when we're looking in the wrong place. All right, you with me so far? All right, number 2, your next clue, see if you can figure this one out. I show up when you stop following someone else's map. I show up when you stop following someone else's map. What do you think that is? Everybody's scared to guess. Right. Okay, here we go. We find joy in our calling when you step into your purpose.
Psst, hey, don't follow this map. This is my map. You need your own map. You know, I don't know how many times I have met people that pursue careers that are not for them, or even goals that they actually don't want to achieve, or life choices that actually make other people happy instead of them. All of this while looking for joy in someone else's map. And guess what? That doesn't lead them to me. You need your own map. Because, okay, let me tell you about this because this is so good. Okay, so we are supposed to be made for be specific, okay? So something custom, like handcrafted by God. You're not another one of the rags. No, you're unique. And that's the best part of all of this. So imagine what will happen if you stop looking at everybody else's map and actually ask God, what did you make me for? Like at that right time, honestly, I will be like, boom, surprise party, right in there, because it's amazing. So every time you will find me when you start doing those things that actually make your heartbeat go faster and your soul say yes, all that is purpose. And I love hanging out in there, honestly. Yay.
Ephesians 2 would tell us, for you are God's handiwork. We are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. You were created on purpose and for a purpose. God had something in mind when he created you, and believe it or not, there was more going on in your creation than mom and dad and some boys to men. All right? God had a plan and a purpose when he created you. There's a meaning behind your life. There's something that he designed you to uniquely do. Purpose and joy go together like a couple holding hands and walking on the beach or something. There's something about when you find your unique calling and purpose, which is unique to you. When you find that, it's like a puzzle that you're missing that one piece and you try to put all the other pieces in, it doesn't line up. But then when you find that one, it like clicks, it just goes right in and the whole thing makes sense. The most important thing you will ever do in life is discover why God put you here. And so oftentimes, we're living for everybody else's agenda, for their purpose for your life and not God's purpose for your life. Because here's the truth. MasterCard has a purpose for your life. All right? Your boss has a purpose for your life. This might be difficult. Your parents have a purpose for your life, right? And all of those might be okay. They might not be okay, but God has a purpose for your life. And when you step into doing what God has called you to do, you find that you love doing it. You have joy, even though it might be hard, even though it might be difficult, even though it's not always easy. You love doing it. You with me? I spent some time years ago trying to figure out my purpose and my meaning in life. And I kind of came to the conclusion that I am here for you. I'm really not a pastor, I'm a coach. I am here for your success. I hate wasted potential, and I love seeing people thrive. And I don't need to be the center of attention. I just want to make you the center of attention. I want to let you thrive. I want to be the wind beneath your wings. I want to be the one that allows you to grow and do what God's called you to do. I love that. That gets me fired up. So I found myself on an Indian train a couple years ago. Indian train, like in India on a train. It's exactly like you picture it. It was rough. They had us in the VIP section too, and it was rough. It was nasty. The toilet literally dropped out onto the tracks below. I ain't trying to be gross. And the group of us, they put us in these little cots. We have an overnight, like 6-hour or something like that train ride. They put us in these cots. I'm in the upper cot, and I sat there laying in the cot, so full of joy. Because you know what? It wasn't about the train. It wasn't that I got to pretend to be Indiana Jones, right, doing these wild things. It was the fact that where we got to next, I was going to be able to invest in some pastors who was going to unlock some things inside of them that was going to allow their churches to flourish, them to flourish personally and their churches to flourish, and God was going to move. And so while I was not in the best circumstances, I had so much joy because I was doing what God called me to do. Are you with me? Yes. Life is like that. When you have joy, you can even have joy when your kids are acting crazy. You can even have joy when you have money or when you don't have money. You can have joy in all circumstances of life. And part of that is because I know what I'm here for and I know what I'm doing and I'm doing what God's called me to do. Therefore, the outside circumstances don't matter as much as we might think. All right, so let me give you a few real fast. I don't have a lot of time to do this, but I want to give you a few quick keys to finding your purpose and your meaning. Number one, what did you dream about doing when you were a child? What did you want to be when you were a child? Think about that. I think there's frequently a connection from your childhood dreams to what you are called to be. Now, it's not like a perfect thing, but it might be in the same industry or the same area. If you had asked me what I wanted to be when I was going to be a child, I would have said like a professional football player. Well, I'm not going to be a professional football player, but I am a coach to this day, right? That is what I do. So it's not always going to be the exact thing. It's going to be something in that vein. And that's not a perfect rule, but it's common. Because what happens is I think we're born with this thing like, I want to do this. And then you find out how much this pays. I talked to somebody when I taught this a while back, a couple years ago. I talked to somebody in Main Street, and they said, I wanted to be a teacher when I was little. And I wanted to be a teacher so badly. And then I grew up and I realized how much teachers make. And I thought, I want to be an engineer, right? And she said, I've regretted it ever since. And now this person as an adult thought, maybe I could go back and actually become a teacher. So oftentimes, what we wanted to be, what we dreamed about being, somebody talked us out of because it didn't pay the bills or it wasn't prestigious or it didn't have this or that. But what was it you wanted to be as a child? That could have some sort of connection to your calling or meaning. Number two, what makes you sing? What makes you sing? So you're like, I'm not a singer. That's not literally what I mean. I mean, what makes you so full of joy? You're just like, yes, this is amazing. This is the best thing ever. What is it that makes you sing that's beautiful, that's lovely, that's wonderful, makes you excited and full of joy? There's a good chance that that particular thing doesn't make everybody joyful, but it makes you joyful because it's part of your purpose. The flip side of that is what makes you cry. What are the things that make you so mad when they're not done? They're so irritated when they're not done. Why in the world are they not doing this? And somebody else doesn't even see it. But you see it and it drives you crazy. It'll keep you up at night. You can't sleep because this wasn't done, right? So what makes you sing? What makes you cry? What are you naturally great at? What are your unique giftings that God has given you that you're just good at this? And here's the funny thing about those giftings, because they're giftings, you probably didn't earn them. And so for you, you've taken them for granted your whole life, right? You find a person who can sing and they're just like, just do it, just sing. Open your mouth and just sing. And you're like, I can't sing like that, right? Because they're just they just do it. What's the big deal, right? Right? And so that's how giftings often work. And then the fifth thing, what is the area of your life that you love the journey, not just the destination? Now, if we started with the destination, we have all kinds of stuff. We love this destination, but you don't really love the journey. So what you really love is this idea of what could be. But if you don't love the journey is where your purpose and meaning's at. If you don't love the journey, then you only hypothetically love the destination. You'll never get to the destination because you don't love the journey. Does that make sense? I'll say it this way. I love the destination of six-pack abs. I do not love the journey of working out and eating right. They say abs are made in the kitchen. I have never seen any abs made in my kitchen anywhere. I've looked all over, no abs anywhere in the KitchenAid. I don't know where they're at, right? So I love the idea of the destination, but I don't love the journey. Meanwhile, there's a whole lot of people with six-pack abs that don't even care about the six-pack abs. They just love going to the gym. They just love working out. You with me? What is it that you love their journey, not just the destination? Because if you start with the destination, and we do this, it's a common mistake, I would love to do this. Yeah, but if you don't like the journey to getting to that, you're never gonna get to it. It's just not gonna happen, okay? So recognizing these things, because we are all built differently all over the place. Even in our church, we have all these different people that like serve in different places in our church, hopefully within their calling and their purpose. And if they're outside of that purpose, they will not have joy, right? They will end up irritated. They will end up irritated all the time, sorry. They will end up irritated all the time, right? So, and they'll irritate everybody else, right? So we have parking people, we have greeters, we got worship team members, we got cafe workers, we got children's workers, we got all these volunteers all around our church. And hopefully they're in the place they enjoy volunteering. And hopefully they're in the place that they're good at volunteering. You don't want the person who's not a singer singing just because they enjoy it. Okay? So they need to be good at it, that's part of the calling, but they also need to enjoy it, that's part of their calling. It's what they love to do, it's what they enjoy doing, right? You don't wanna mix and match those because it doesn't usually work. So there's a type of person that's gonna be awesome on our parking team. They're gonna be a little bit more authoritative. They're gonna be a little bit more, hey, get over here, serve here, get in this parking spot, get over here, get in this parking spot. Why you got 8 feet between you and the other car? That's too little distance to get another car in there and too much distance to go, like, come on, you can do better than that, right? Meanwhile, you have a person working in kids ministry that's just like, give me that baby, I just want to hold him and squeeze him and love on him. They're so cute. Meanwhile, you got worship leaders up here that are just like, Jesus, I love Jesus, right? And then you got prayer team people that are gonna be up here volunteering this morning. They're like, pray for you forever. Like, they don't stop. Like, they'll just keep praying. Like, I can tell you what was going on in some of these high schoolers' minds a minute ago. They're like, Ada, would you stop praying? I'm gonna be a junior in college by the time this prayer's over, okay? Right? And so you got these different people who have their own gifting in their own realm, and God uses them, and it brings joy as long as they're in their unique purpose and calling. But if they step out of it, it gets crazy. So what if we moved and just switched the parking team and the kids ministry team and just said, all right, y'all switch? Can you imagine checking your kid in? And they're like, yeah, you get over here, you get in this line right here, this line right here. Check your kid in, they're going to that room right there. I'm watching them, they're going to that room, right? That's not a recipe for success. Meanwhile, you got a kids worker out there in the parking lot going, oh, you guys are just so awesome. Park wherever you want, just everywhere. There's parking over here, over there. I'm just so glad that you're here today, right? Can you imagine putting like the worship team in the parking lot? That might be the craziest thing ever. It's like, hey, turn your car to the right now. Back into this glorious space. Right, can you imagine? Like, they have different giftings. And when you're outside of your gifting, it just doesn't work. It frustrates the organization, it frustrates the person, because they feel like a failure. Listen, you can't teach a fish to climb a tree, and of course they're gonna feel like a failure. But you also can't teach a squirrel to swim across the ocean. It's gonna feel like a failure too, right? It's not that you're a failure, it's that you might be out of the realm of what your calling and your purpose is because somebody convinced you that you made more money doing this or had a better career over here, and you're just outside of what God's called you to do. But when you have the worship team on the worship team, all of a sudden they're full of joy. I just love to be here. You know our worship team shows up at like 6:30 in the morning? They're crazy. I think Jesus is up that early. They're waking Jesus up so that we can worship. But you know, I never hear anybody complain. Why? Because they love to worship Jesus. And if they got to show up early to worship Jesus, that's awesome. You know, our kids ministry team, they get here early and they're serving and they're dealing with your snotty-nosed, crazy child, changing diapers. But they're not complaining. Why? Because they love it, because they're in their joy zone, right? When you get into the calling that God's desired you to be in, when you find your place in that spot, you find joy. Joy and your purpose walk hand in hand. But if you are outside of your purpose, you're probably not gonna find joy because you're living out somebody else's purpose for you. Does that make sense? Yeah. Hey, if you guys, yeah. If you want to take that, if you want to take that any deeper, this Thursday night on my podcast, I will be taking that subject deeper because I knew there's so much to say about purpose and meaning. I'm going to take it deeper on my podcast Thursday night at 7. If you haven't subscribed to it or whatever, it's YouTube at Dr. Brent Simpson, the @ Dr. Brent Simpson. It's also anywhere podcasts are out, and it'll be premiered Thursday night at 7. And so we definitely want you to take that a step further. All right, let's go to clue number 3. Clue number 3. The more you give away, the more of me you will find. The more you give away, the more of me you find. There's a lot of good answers for this. I heard time. Money. What? Talent. There's a lot of good answers. This is a tough clue. If this is Pastor Johnny's wallet, he's in a tough spot right here because there's a lot of good answers for this one. I'm going to say it this way. We find joy through serving.
Oh, okay. I love this part. Okay, you want to know the fastest way to find joy? Okay, wait for it. Give me away. I know, it's crazy, but joy is sneaky like that. Anyway, you know, guys, I promise I will multiply every single time that you guys love, serve, or give. So you want to find more joy? Bake some cookies for your neighbor, or maybe give a call to that person that is lonely, or even better, serve to that person that need it, but not to be seen, but to be a blessing. Guys, I'm like a boomerang, honestly. The more you just toss me away in like meals and kind words and hugs, the more that I just came back to you and hit you right where it feels. You are meant to be a river, so go in that current of compassion and generosity. Yay!
You find joy in serving, which is where it's connected to your purpose, because inside of your purpose is going to be to serve somehow. Now, this is anti-American because from the time you were born, life was about you. Have it your way. Do it all for me. At the same time, the joy level across America has been plummeting for a long time. True joy is not found in you. It's found by serving others, right? That's why Mark chapter 10, Jesus would say that whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. Acts would say it's more blessed to give than to receive. Listen, if we're really going to find joy, you're not going to find it by focusing on yourself. But when you make your life about others, joy makes herself at home in you. So, I just got to say this for everybody in the back that didn't get it. Here's the truth that the world won't tell you. The more the world revolves around you, the less joy you'll have. I know you've been taught the polar opposite your whole life. That's part of the reason we have no joy, because we're trying to make it all about me. But true joy is found in serving. You were not created to be a reservoir. You were created to be a river. The Dead Sea is the Dead Sea because nothing lives in the Dead Sea. Do you know why it's the Dead Sea and nothing lives in the Dead Sea? It's because the Jordan River flows into the Dead Sea and nothing flows out of it. So it collects all the minerals, but nothing flows through it. You were not meant to be a reservoir. You were meant to be a river that God can move through onto other people. Your life is not about you. Can y'all handle that truth? I know that's not American. Your life is not about you. If you make it about you, you can try to find joy all you want, you're not gonna find her. Your life is actually about others. And when you make your life about others, you start to find joy, which is weird. You get better by serving others. But that's the way God designed it to work. That's the way God designed us to function. In the Journal of Happiness Studies, this isn't just pastor talk, they said that people that serve 2 hours a week have a higher satisfaction level in every area of life, lower depression, and even longer lifespans. You want to live longer? Serve. That's what the science says. That's not like the church talk. That's what the science says. Dr. Martin Seligman, founder of positive psychology, he says this: altruism creates deep, lasting well-being. It turns passive happiness into active joy. I don't know about you, but a personal gauge for me and my joy is when I start taking other people for granted I'm not being grateful. I can recognize in myself. Like, you won't see it because I won't say it. Can we be real enough to admit that? I know how to say the right things. I've been in church for a long time. But when I find it in my heart that I'm taking people for granted and I'm not serving people, I'm not being grateful, I'm not living out my meaning of coaching them and raising them up, I will find that that's a sign in me that I've lost my joy, that something is off within me. But the way joy works, it's amazing. The more you give away, the more it comes back, right? When I was a kid, some of you might remember this, but when I was a kid in the kiosk in the mall, they had these giant airplanes. They were styrofoam, and I don't know. The sign there says they were 22 inches wingspan. It seemed way bigger than that when you were a kid, at least. They were huge than what I remember. And they had them in the kiosk in the mall, and they would throw them in the mall. Yeah, see, Ben remembers. You would throw them, and it would go in a big circle and come back, and you could, in theory, catch it, right? And so I thought, I want that. Like, we were pretty poor growing up, so I didn't have a lot of money. So it was like Christmas or something. I'm pretty sure it was Christmas. And I'm like, that's what I want for Christmas. I want this styrofoam airplane. This is going to make me happy, whatever, right? And so my parents, they got me that styrofoam airplane, huge styrofoam airplane. I put it together, go in my aunt's yard across the street, throw it. It's amazing. You throw it. If I had one here, it might even work. You could throw it, and it would just go around like a giant circle and come back, and if you're really good, you could catch it. That was amazing. And I threw it like 3 times, then it broke because it's styrofoam. And because it's an airplane and styrofoam, you can't just like put tape on it because then you mess up the weight differential and it doesn't work right anymore. Anyway, my point is, that's the way that joy and serving cooperate together. As I serve, as I do for others, it comes right back. And as Joy just said a minute ago in the message, hits you right back in the feels. You serve, it comes back around, it comes right back to you so that you find joy as you serve other people. Are you with me? So good, so good. If you want more joy, go serve somebody. I don't know what that looks like. This isn't preacher talk. I'm not trying to round up a whole bunch of volunteers. We always need volunteers, but we're not trying to round up a bunch of volunteers. Just go serve somebody. Find a neighbor next to you. Go mow their yard. Go find somebody, wash their car. Find somebody in need. Take care of them. Go hold a door somewhere. Send a note to somebody. Show up with a smile. Just encourage them. Make a meal for somebody that isn't expecting, that's in need. Find a place and serve. And especially when you can connect it to your unique purpose and meaning, it becomes incredibly powerful to finding joy in your life. Finally, I'll say this. Joy is not a destination, it's a journey. Joy is not a destination, it's a journey. Joy is not something you stumble into. It's something that starts to be uncovered when you change your focus and you become grateful. It's something that starts to become uncovered when you have a greater purpose and your meaning starts to show up. And it's something that becomes uncovered whenever you start serving others. And here's the good news. God the Father wants you to have joy. Wants you to have joy.
Oh, yes, he wants to. Okay, so you guys, you already know all the clues. So I haven't been hiding. I have been here all alone, just waiting for you guys to slow down and notice. Because honestly, I'm in that thank you note that you haven't written yet. And I'll be right there holding your hand whenever you find that path for your life. And I'll be waiting right there with you when you serve that one person and don't tell a soul about it. Because you know what, guys? It is true. I am very uncommon in America nowadays, honestly. But the thing is that these are the places to find joy. And you know what? For someone here in the crowd, I just want to say, there's one more clue. I know you might be waiting for happiness and you're looking and looking for it, but the thing is that what your heart is really craving is Jesus. Because in His presence, that's where I live, that's where I am. So go ahead, go with Him, and I promise I'll be right there with you guys.
So where is joy hiding? Where has she gone to? Well, she's probably hiding behind the thanks that we haven't spoken yet. The heart of gratitude that we need to develop inside of ourselves. She's probably hiding behind the purpose that you haven't stepped into. That true meaning of your life that you haven't stepped into your calling, you've stepped into what somebody else wanted it to be. She's probably hiding behind that person you're called to serve. That you thought that was taking something from you, but what you might find is it's actually putting something in you.
God is doing so much here at Arise Church, and we want you to be a part of it. Stay connected with us on our YouTube channel, Facebook, and Instagram, and wherever you can find us online at My Arise Church, and we'll see you next week.